morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this very special occasion, this inaugural Local Governance Conference, Jamaica 2018. This very special event allows us to gather and to look at where we are as a local government fraternity, to examine the considerations of the current, and to chart the course to the future. May I ask, before we go any further, that we invite the blessings of the Almighty on our deliberations over these 3 days. And so I will now ask Bishop Conrad Pitkin, Custos Rotularum of the Parish of St. James, to offer prayer.
May I invite us all to stand, please. As we pause today, let us reflect on the goodness of God and how blessed we are as a people, where He has brought us from to celebrate our 56th year of independence as a nation, the freedom we enjoy as a people, and the beauty of our land. Let us pray. Almighty God, You are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. Thank You for our government that You have placed to govern the affairs of our nation, and for Your servant Andrew, whom You have appointed to lead us at this time. We ask that You'll grant him the wisdom and fortitude needed in these challenging times. Thank You, Father, for the opportunities You have given us to serve You and to serve others. We ask for Your guiding hand to lead the chairman through this conference as we seek to accomplish the goal of strengthening responsiveness and accountability within our local government framework. We ask for Your blessing and Your guidance upon the minister. Lord, as we approach our task, we ask for wisdom again. And may we approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. And may our actions and attitudes please You this day. Thank You, Father, for helping us to accomplish our work through these proceedings. We ask these requests in Your wonderful name, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Custos. Ladies and gentlemen, to offer the official welcome and to tell us why we're here, I now call on His Worship the Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, Chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, to address you.
Good morning again. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, is on his way. Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development. Member of Parliament for Central St. James, Mr. Eroy Clark. Senator and Councillor Charles Sinclair. Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Permanent Secretary acting in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. Custos Rotolorum for the Parish of St. James, Honorable Conrad Pitkin. President of the Lay Magistrate Association for St. James, Mrs. Claudette Bryan. Members of the Jamaica Defense Force, members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, members of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Visiting Mayor Glenn Ram from Trinidad and Tobago, and I know Joel Martinez is to join us later in this conference. Other mayors of other parish capitals and other local government elected representatives, councillors, chief executive officers, and technical officers of the respective municipalities. Representatives from government ministries, departments, and agencies. Members of the business community. Members of the academia. Representatives from civic communities. Junior mayors. Members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning. As mayor of the Caribbean's fastest developing city, yes sir, we are. It is my honor to welcome you all to this inaugural Local Government Conference Jamaica 2018. This gathering of the movers and shakers of local government and community development in Jamaica, and the outcome from this deliberation over the next 2 days will have a positive impact for our country going forward. I am sure that we all share the view that this conference will help us in our respective municipal corporations to push the agenda for national development. And this is where praise is due. And we must commend Jamaica's hardest working local government and community development minister, Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, for conceptualizing this conference. My fellow mayors, chief executive officers, senior administrative leaders of the municipal corporations, let us use our position as public officers to be the positive change which Jamaica has been yearning for since independence. We must recognize and appreciate the roles that we play in local government and community development process. This conference provides a perfect platform for us to make an undying commitment of putting the decisions into action. Let us make a commitment to speak with our actions. Actions that will result in fundamental changes. Actions that will transform our parishes into the desired results. Actions that will see us on the grounds instead of being paper pushers. Actions that will help us to take back control of our parish and ultimately Jamaica. I use this opportunity to call for greater synergy between municipal cooperation and central government. Minister Mackenzie, fellow councillors, mayors, CEO, ladies and gentlemen, my call for greater synergies between local authorities and central government is based on the fact that we are the face of government in Jamaica. As mayors and councillors, we are the ones that citizens from our respective divisions hold accountable for issues relating to garbage collections, the repairs of street lights, and the installation of street lights as it relates to drain cleaning, and I could go on and on. However, the irony of this situation is that as local authorities, we are not vested with the power to take on these agencies when they are failing our citizens. As local authorities, we are not permitted to take the corrective disciplinary action against agencies. And I could name them, but they know who they are. The development of our parishes and our municipality can be negatively impacted by the inaction of these agencies. I therefore call on us as mayors to demand that we be given more teeth to manage the affairs of our parish and municipalities. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to learn from each other, to adopt best practices and implement them as working solutions at our respective municipality as we enter what is called the fourth industrial revolution. I am confident that this meeting will be a learning experience, will be a way to forge better partnership between us as leaders and officers of local government, and will move our parishes up the next ladder of the prosperity trail, being astutely driven by our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. You are in the friendly city of Montego Bay. We are now enjoying a new status of being the safest city in the Caribbean. It is still the magic city, and it is yours to enjoy whilst you're here, if time will allow us. Because when I looked at the agenda, we go up until 8 p.m. at night, so there won't be much time for a number of us. Minister Mackenzie and my fellow local government representatives, again, I welcome you all to this very important meeting, which I know will be rewarding and successful. Thank you very much, and may God bless us over the next 3 days.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been appropriately welcomed. And now, to give us in greater detail more of our purposes here, I would like to call on our acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, to provide us with an overview of this conference.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. The Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, delegates and excellencies who are present with us from the international community, members of the Senate, Senator Sinclair, His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Homer Davis, and Mayor of Montego Bay, and mayors and councillors from other parishes. Custos Rotolorum of St. James, Bishop the Honorable Conrad Pitkin, and other custodes of the parish. Visiting Mayor from Trinidad, Mr. Glenn Ram. Welcome to Jamaica, sir. Representatives from the Jamaica Defense Force, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and my own JFB, Jamaica Fire Brigade. Chairmen for the portfolio agencies of the ministry, and representatives of the board. Representatives from other government agencies, my own senior directors and CEOs within the municipal corporations, members of the academic profession, the business community, members of the media, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought I saw at least 2 children here this morning. Children, good morning. It is indeed a pleasure for me to stand before you this morning. Today marks a very important milestone for local governance in Jamaica and the Caribbean. This milestone represents the importance the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, and by extension, the Government of Jamaica, places on local governance and the necessity to be accountable and to be responsive to all Jamaicans, old and young, male and female, regardless of class, status, address, and preferences. As such, the task is mine this morning to present to you an overview of the next 3 days. Recognizing that there are likely questions regarding the reason for this conference at this time, the truth, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have done some things well. Some things not very well. Some things we have not yet done in order to meet the people we serve. And some things we can do much better. Against this background, we recognize the demand to be more responsive, accountable, and resilient in a changing business and global space. You, our stakeholders and partners, are important as we seek to meet this demand. The Local Governance Act has been passed, and this further dictates the demand that we be action-oriented. The objectives of this conference, therefore, are to promote good governance in conjunction with the legislative framework that guides the operation of the local authorities, to provide the tools that will aid to promote service delivery, to increase awareness of both the political and the administrative leaders in the local authorities who are involved in the execution of the role of local governance. Hence, this conference, whilst involving a multiplicity of resource personnel, local and international, and some of our key partners, will target mayors, chief executive officers, chief financial officers, chief engineering officers, directors of planning, directors of administration, parish disaster coordinators, budget and revenue officers, to name a few. Over the next 3 days, various experts and knowledge personnel will explore our resilience within the local context and seek to heighten awareness in the implementation of early warning systems. They will seek to explore the budgeting processes to support strengthened disaster resilience and risk reduction. We will explore standardizing operating procedures and processes surrounding emergency management and operations. Capacity building within local authorities and training needs will also be focused on. We will seek to look on a job a focused job description, and performance measurement. Altogether, ladies and gentlemen, this is towards ensuring efficiency in service delivery. The conference will utilize concurrent sessions to ensure issues related to financing, financial management, and accountability, transparency, prudence within the public sector at the local level are adequately and practically ventilated. The issue of development and planning, which is one of the core functions of local authorities, will also be addressed. Though date 3 sometimes tend to be a little bit on the lower scale, it promises to be very exciting, and it is expected that the momentum will be maintained to the end. Issues to be highlighted include the local government's role on the national growth agenda and maximizing revenue enhancement through effective local governance. Over the period, space has been created for interface and dialogue between and among local government representatives. Space will also be created for social interaction towards engendering team building at the local level. As local government touches the lives of all persons everywhere, we implore you who were and are not able to be here with us in Montego Bay to listen to us on live radio. To you, our invaluable presenters and facilitators, we thank you for having agreed to this conference. We charge you to challenge the audience with thought-provoking issues that will spark a resilient local government fraternity that delivers effective and sustained service delivery. To you, members and representatives of the municipal corporations, we urge you to make the difference. Local government, in my opinion, can singly impact national development by virtue of the services that we are required to deliver. No other sector must ensure in any one sitting, consider the supply of street lights, civic order, market access, suitable roads and water supply, and clean drains, fire hydrants and fire prevention, public health and safety, building, planning, environmental considerations, disaster management and risk reduction, a system for barbers, hairdressers, abattoirs, stray animals, drought management, solid waste regulation and management, property taxes, street naming and numbering, community development, community centers, youth involvement and empowerment, local economic development, welfare and human services, city management, and trafficking, to name a few. And ladies and gentlemen, had I had the projector today, my intent was really to show you the video that displays your own role as local government practitioners in the Sustainable Development Goal. Very critical. Dynamic indeed is local government. Let us challenge ourselves, therefore, to be more accountable, responsive, even as we embark on this inaugural conference. It is intended that a conference of this nature will be every 2 years, as together local government takes its space as a responsive and accountable mechanism to achieve growth and development. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, children, we implore you this morning, let us make this conference a success.
Thank you, Permanent Secretary. And on the subject of dialogue, may I use this opportunity to endorse the Permanent Secretary's remarks about the pervasive nature of the dialogue that we are having today and will have over the next 2 days. For this stage of this experience, may I ask us to specially recognize our media partners, Nationwide Radio FM. Now, local government is not only the most intimate form of government, it is also the oldest and the most pervasive and most internationally grounded form of government. And so we are pleased when, as a local government fraternity, our friends from the region find it fit to share this time with us. It is in that special context that I now ask Mr. Glenn Ram, Chairman of the Mayo Rio Claro Regional Corporation in Trinidad, to come forward and bring us greetings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman of today's proceeding. The Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Mayor, His Worship Homer Davis, all other mayors, ladies and gentlemen, all members of the media, as I was now telling the Acting Permanent Secretary, I will have to say all protocols observed for the salutation. This morning, before I say my piece, I actually prepared a document. It's 15 pages. It's 15 pages, and I'm happy that I am hoping that we'll be able to discuss some of the issues that are in this document over the 3-day period. So I'm just putting you all on notice that I'm well prepared for this conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please assist me to welcome the Most Honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen.
Honorable Prime Minister, I am so happy that when I'm saying my piece, the Prime Minister is here. As I said before, I have the document, 15 pages, and as I said, we'll have discussions over the 3-day on this document. On behalf of the Council and Administration of the Mayo Rio Claro Regional Corporation, Trinidad, as well as the wider local government fraternity of Trinidad and Tobago, I extend heartfelt greetings to the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Community Development of Jamaica, the local government fraternity, and as well as the government of Jamaica. Moreover, I express sincere gratitude for your gracious invitation to address the opening session of this local government conference on the pertinent and relevant theme, strengthening responsiveness and accountability within the local governance framework. Significantly, many governments in the Commonwealth Caribbean region and elsewhere in the globe are currently pursuing local government reform and transformation policy initiatives with a view to decentralizing more power, authority, and responsibility to local government, as well as enhancing the autonomy and role in local democratic leadership and sustainable development process. As local government representative, we must therefore constantly lobby central government to hold steadfast and true to its local government reform agenda that purports to promote strong local democratic leadership and people-centered sustainable development regardless of party affiliation. Accordingly, since responsiveness and accountability are two of the most valued principles of local governance and democracy, the theme of this conference is not only germane but also relevant to local governance in the context of local government reform and transformation. This observation is reinforced by the fact that these two local government principles occupy prominence in the Commonwealth Local Government Forum core principles of good local governance and democracy, the Regional Policy and Cooperation Framework document for good policy governance and democracy. in the Caribbean by the CARICOM Forum of Local Government Ministers. Accordingly, therefore, I wish to share with you some of the strategies and mechanisms adopted by the Mayari-Okara Regional Corporation Trinidad, as well as those outlined in the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago Local Government Reform and Transformation Policy, document pertaining to strengthening responsiveness and accountability within the local government's framework. Before proceeding to examine and explore these strategies and mechanisms, it would be useful to define for the benefits of this conference working definition of responsiveness and accountability. In this context, responsiveness means the degree of promptness in responding or addressing citizens, burgesses, residents, and community stakeholder demands, needs, requests, and concerns regarding the provision of delivery of goods and services or action to redress same. It is therefore the time frame between the receipt of requests for action and action taken to address or implementation of same. Accountability, on the other hand, refers to our answerability, that is to say, a reasonable body person or entity explaining and outlining the reason, rationale, or manner in which decision, policies, programs are taken. I have a number of strategies and mechanisms, and we have, for example, we have the regional coordinated meeting. Like in Jamaica, we had OPEM, we have the ODPM, and this is something that we are pushing right now in terms of in Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of our disaster responsiveness and in terms of our mitigation. I am so happy that my region was selected by the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad, where I had the Delaware National Guards spending 3 days in my region in terms of coming with plans, strategies, policies, proposals in terms of trying to mitigate disaster preparedness in that region. And actually, we are a pilot project for Trinidad. So there are a number of issues that I could pertain, but I know the Honorable Prime Minister is here. So in closing, I share with you some of the good practices employed by my corporation and some of the proposed local government measures, which I know we will discuss over 3 days, 15 pages, pertaining to strengthening responsiveness and accountability within the local government framework. I've also provided some perspective on other areas. I really would like to thank Mr. Minister, I want to sincerely thank you for your invitation here this morning. I look forward for this conference. As I have said, Trinidad is my home, but my second home is in Jamaica. I love Jamaica. And I look forward to this conference, this 3-day conference, so we could really have discussions. And when I go back home to Trinidad, I will be able to carry some pertinent information as it relates to local government systems in a way that we could work together enhancing. Because we have one thing in common. We are servants of the people, and we are here to take care of their needs and to make their lives better. So again, thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. It's always a pleasure to be in Jamaica. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Ram. May I use this opportunity also to officially welcome Mr. Neil Grant, the President of the Jamaica Civil Service Association. Welcome, Mr. Grant. Now, in the midst of our discussions and the prospects of what is to come, we need to just take a short break and remember our cultural heritage. And so at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, to present to us a cultural item, Mr. Okere Brimmer of the John Rollins Success Primary School. Please help me to welcome Mr. Brimmer.
What a wicked, dreadful, and unreasonable woman. Look pa me foot. the minibus will run right over the Miglami instep. Before me could have squint, it swell up big like jackfruit for me. You don't know is what happened. Is that the wicked woman at my house? Is she pray God for me why the minibus will run right over the Miglami instep? She always a pray for bad things she am to me. She always a follow me up and down with her complaining. Just because me won't stay with her in the house at night time. She know that me have to hustle in the daytime. Me no must get the night for myself. Drink me rum, play that me know with me friend them, and do me other little business them. She is me woman, yes, but she is old time thing. Me now must have another little young thing to rub up me jaw and make me feel young and sprucey. What a wicked, dreadful, unreasonable woman he. Me take good care of her. She tell me that she was getting a hard time on her job. So me tell her leave it and come home and sit down. Me rent a little shop. Me stock it out full. Me put her into it and tell her say anything she sell is for she and the children them. She have food to eat. She have clothes to wear. I give her a house to live in. She don't have to leave the house for nothing at all. Not even to go to a show. Because me give her a TV too. What a wicked, dreadful, unreasonable woman. One time, me never visit her for about 2 weeks. You should have heard how she bawl and carry on. Say me not treating her like human being. Say she lonely and she need me company. But is what she talking about, eh? She don't have the shop to work into. She don't have the house to keep clean. She don't have dirty clothes to wash and iron. She don't have 2 children to take care of and to talk to. What more could she want? What a wicked, dreadful, unreasonable woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is only reasonable that we applaud. And we wish him a speedy recovery. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that he will encounter on his way to the hospital is a series of improved roads, minor roads especially, for which local government is responsible. And at this time, I would like to call on the conceptualizer of this very special conference, the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, to address you.
Thank you, Oliver. Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, colleague parliamentarian Eroy Clark, Senator Charles Sinclair, Custos of St. James, mayors, deputy mayors and minority leaders, councillors of the respective municipalities, CEOs and other senior managers, members of the respective boards, other associate bodies, and I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my good friend, Dr. Lawrence from UNDP, who is here, who will be making a special presentation in the afternoon session. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This morning, we are here to examine local government in a very meaningful way. The participation of our friends from the region, and Mayor, thank you for coming, and we look forward to 3 days of great deliberations. Local government, as we all know, is the first line of government in any country. 75% of the services offered comes through the local government system. We are responsible for roads, minor water supply, garbage collection, street lights, cemeteries, public recreation, markets, butcher license, you name it. All of these services require the input of local government. But if the truth be told, local government over the years have been severely criticized. In some cases, there are real justification. But in other cases, it is a lack of understanding the role of local government. And certainly, there are many local government practitioners who contribute to that notion because they themselves are not fully cognizant of their role as local government practitioners. The question of accountability has been on the lips of many Jamaicans, not only for those of us who are involved in local government, but the question of accountability goes far and wide. Local government, in most cases, have been singled out. And therefore, this 3-day conference, the first of its kind to be held in Jamaica, will examine in detail the weaknesses of local government. And yes, we must admit that there are serious deficiencies in the system. We are cognizant of the role that we have to play as servants of the people. Therefore, it is the commitment of this administration to ensure that we expose all local government practitioners to the best possible training, the best possible medium, so that they can express themselves in the way in which they ought to express themselves. I've often said that the role of local government is not just about cleaning drains and bushing trees. There's a deeper role that we play. And if you look at what local government entails in reaching out to the more desperate and needy part of our society, in our keep and care, our 14 infirmaries across this country, where many Jamaicans who has fallen hard times depend on the services of local government. We are faced this hurricane season challenges that none of us here wants to face. The realities are real. Several parishes are now experiencing severe drought conditions. We are anticipating more than an active hurricane season. We are preparing ourselves as local government practitioners to face these challenges and to respond in a meaningful way. Here in Montego Bay, Mayor Davies and councillors and residents of Montego Bay, over the last couple of days, the major site in this country, in this part of the island, has been experiencing fire. And you told me this morning that it is the worst it has been. But while it is the responsibility of the National Solid Waste Management Authority to provide an area for dumping, there is also the wider discussion that we need to engage the level of discipline that exists in our society when the dump is used by persons to living on the dumps, not just here in Montego Bay. And the end result is what have been the residents of Montego Bay has been experiencing. I want to, Mayor, to take this opportunity on behalf of the government to express to the residents of Montego Bay to say how sorry we are for what has taken place. The government, through NPM, through the National Solid Waste Management Authority, has taken the necessary steps. And the CEO of the National Solid Waste Management Authority is here, and I want to commend him and the staff for the work that they have undertaken, including the Jamaica Fire Brigade, to bring the fire under control. A lot more needs to be done to ensure that we secure the landfills across the country. These are just some of the challenges that we faced as local government practitioners. And over the next 3 days, Honorable Prime Minister, we will examine, as I said earlier on, the weaknesses and therefore come out of this session with answers that we think will only strengthen and make local government more accountable. This year, Prime Minister, we intend to launch on the 9th of August the annual Youth Summer. Last year, we employed some 2,500 young people right across all 14 municipalities. This year, we are increasing the number to 3,000, Prime Minister. And this increased, Prime Minister, will see these young people assisting the local government authorities, again, to continue the exercise on the streetlight audit that we commenced last year. And let me say that based on the audit that was done last year, we were in a better position to argue our case with the Jamaica Public Service Company as it relates to the amount of streetlights that are working across the country. In this year's program, Prime Minister, the young people will assist the local authorities in identifying another source of revenue that has eluded the local authorities, and that is in the area of trade license. This program will therefore see each councillor having 15 individuals from their respective divisions and mayors 25 participants. We are hoping that the benefit of this program will only again highlight the importance of local government and the need for us to recommit ourselves in improving service delivery. Finally, this is what I would like to call a test run as we prepare to host for the very first time the Regional Platform for Disaster Management and Risk Reduction, the global platform of the Americas and the Caribbean, which Jamaica has the unique pleasure of being the first country outside of the Americas to be hosting such an important international forum. The conference will be held right here in the in the city. I know Charles and Mayor Davis don't like the second city. But this conference will be held here in the city of Montego Bay in the month of July in the year 2020. It is a date that you need to hold dear to your heart. Let me therefore challenge you over the next 3 days to use your energy and your resources to ensure that our deliberations at the end of the day will reap the success that we deserve. Local government is the vehicle of expression, and it is a vehicle that we should use. Drive with care, no shortcut. Stick to the protocols of the system. I welcome you and thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, Minister. From as early as 2016, the Most Honorable Prime Minister established very clearly in Parliament that local government was never to be limited to a parochial enterprise. And so we are very pleased that he's here today to bring us the keynote address. May I ask the Chairman of the Cabinet and the Chairman of the National Disaster Risk Management Council, the Most Honorable Prime Minister, to address us.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Oliver Fagan. Believe it or not, we were at university together. And I believe that, Oliver, you probably conducted my first interview. I believe it was right after I had ran but lost the guild elections. And I believe I told you then that I would never lose another election. The Honorable Minister of Local Government, Desmond McKenzie. I'm looking for Dr. Brown Burke. Well, I acknowledge her in her absence. Members of Parliament who may be in attendance. Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Homer Davis, Chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, and other mayors who are here. Bishop, the Honorable Conrad Pitkin, Custos Rotulorum of St. James. Mr. Glenn Ram, Chairman of the Mayaro Rio Claro Regional Corporation, Trinidad and Tobago, and other visiting mayors. I believe this is my second time meeting you, Mr. Mayor. You were here last summer. I see why you say Jamaica is your second home. Deputy mayors, councillors, members of staff of the municipal corporation, heads of agencies and departments, members of the private sector, members of staff of the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me first congratulate Minister Mackenzie and your team at the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development on the initiative you have taken in creating, planning, and hosting this first local governance conference under the theme Strengthening Responsiveness and Accountability within the Local Government Framework. This administration is convinced that the prosperity to which every single Jamaican aspires can only be achieved if government creates the enabling environment to empower our citizens. Within this context, local government, being the form of government closest to the people, has a special role to play in delivering critical services that directly impact and determine the quality of life we enjoy. I want to thank all of you, mayors, chief executive officers, chief financial officers, chief engineers, planning and administrative officers, and parish disaster coordinators, and all other directors and staff of the local municipal authorities for your service to Jamaica. These are exciting times to serve your nation, and your presence here signifies your own interest to commit even further to your true bosses, the people of Jamaica, by refining in these sessions the quality of your service. Let me extend a very special welcome to our visiting mayors. I have singled out Mayor Ram from Trinidad. By virtue of your presence, the conference is enriched. And I gather that we will have other visiting local government officials, including from Cuba. I am certain that the exchange will be beneficial and enrich our understanding of local governance. The theme of this inaugural conference is in tandem with the tone that this government has consistently maintained in requiring responsiveness and accountability at all levels of government. Local government is subject to the same national standards of accountability and is expected to deliver the highest quality of service. Local government, as was said earlier, is not parochial government in the literal sense, or rather in the figurative sense, because you're literally a parochial government. But I think it is much better said that local government is not a lesser form of government, which by virtue would require a lesser form of responsiveness and accountability. Any agency of the state that is charged with administering the public's resources must meet the highest standard of accountability and responsiveness. As mayors and local representatives, you are the political first responders. You are generally the first member of the political class with whom citizens will interact. You represent Jamaica community by community, house by house, person by person, in the smallest divisible unit politically that our Constitution allows. You know every citizen, name by name, alias by alias, or at least you should. Therefore, your interactions with the citizens will form their first impressions. And indeed, it will form their perception of the state. So, local government is about service delivery. It is often queried by the people who study local governance. Why does local government exist? If you have a central government, why is there need for a local government? The answer usually comes back in the form that local government is about the delivery of service. Local governments exist because they are able to deliver service to the citizens in a much quicker and efficient fashion than service delivery from the central government. The reason why local governments persist, therefore, is that it makes sense to decentralize and delegate authority closer to the people. However, if that principle fails, then people begin to question local government. If central government is able to deliver services much faster, much more efficient, with much greater accountability than local government, citizens will start to say, why the additional layer of bureaucracy? So the purpose, the reason why citizens continue to maintain faith in local government is the expectation that in a crisis, that in times of need, or just generally, that the first person I'm going to see, the first person of the political class, the first representative of the state, is going to be my local government representative. If you don't play that function, then citizens will start to question, why do we have a local government? So your theme is very appropriate and gets to the heart of the issues of local governance, accountability and responsiveness. More and more, human services are being provided through the local government system, the local government network. And precisely for the reason that the local representatives have greater knowledge of the needs of their citizens. So when I said earlier that you know them by name, or you're expected to know them by name, it is really a proxy for saying that you should have greater knowledge of the citizens that you serve compared to a department in central government. So you should be in a better position to provide human services. So, and it's not just the knowledge, it is that by virtue of knowing the conditions of your communities, that you will have compassion. So local government is also government with compassion. Government that cares. And I want to drive home that point today. Local government is government with compassion. Government that cares. Now, some people say that local government is government without resources. I don't say that. But local governments have to be very creative in how they use their resources. And I always say to people that the first way of getting more is to use what you already have more efficiently. So I'm using this conference to emphasize the point of accountability. Now, Mayor Ram gave a good explanation of what accountability is. He says it's the function of reporting. Of course, accountability is a spectrum of activities. It starts with acknowledging that you report to a principal, to a higher authority. And that in our context, the higher authority is the people of Jamaica. But accountability goes through several phases. The ultimate phase is sanction. That if something goes wrong in the administration of the delegated authority that you have an obligation to report, but you also have a duty to correct and to prevent the reoccurrence of the error or maladministration. Local government comes under the scheme of accountability that the government of Jamaica applies to all its agencies, whether in central government or local government itself. As mayors and councillors, you would know that several of your municipalities have come under investigations or are currently under investigations. That is part of the process of accountability. And there will be sanctions applied once it is discovered and established that there is maladministration. Ultimately, the central government, in collaboration with the local government, through the Ministry of Local Government, will ensure that the systems of accountability are strengthened. So we're not just going to discover that there is a weakness, punish the wrongdoer, and not seek to make the institutional, regulatory, and legislative changes to prevent those things from happening again. I mentioned the idea of local government providing human services. One of the critical human service that we provide is disaster preparedness and recovery. And in today's world, and especially for small island developing states, it is critical that we take a proactive approach, an instrumental approach to this whole business of disaster preparedness. The frequency and intensity of natural disasters and even man-made disasters are such that they can wipe out entire countries, as they have done in the past. More than that, they can destabilize economies. If you stop to consider that the last hurricane that hit Dominica wiped out the country, cost the country 200% of its GDP. And if it is the case that every year there will be some natural disasters affecting our country, adding up to somewhere in the region of between 2 to 10% of GDP, then that impacts on our ability to grow and provide the prosperity of which we speak. The only way that we're going to overcome this is by being prepared and investing in resilience. Local government has a lot to do with that. Local government has so much to do with preparing the minds of the citizens as it relates to natural disasters. Getting people not to live in gully courses and on riverbanks. No matter how the government puts out its national campaign, the power of the councillor sitting down with his voters and explaining to them the dangers that they face and having locally structured programs to facilitate their movement, there is nothing more powerful than that. And that is truly local governance. I appeal, I urge the municipal corporations to start engaging at that level. The central government will support. We will do the national advertising campaign that will reinforce the message that you deliver on the ground, but nothing beats the message that you deliver on the ground to the people who elected you. You know, there is nothing more powerful than training communities to respond to disasters. We have been doing it all along. But with the intensity and frequency of the disasters that happen, it would help to have locally based, trained first responders. And I know that there are various initiatives within the various municipalities, and I encourage you to expand those, to collaborate with the HOPE program, to ensure that we have young people in the community who are trained for first response. I recall, I believe it was last year when we had serious rains. A mother and her child were marooned, literally, on a fence post. And she held on to her child whilst a flood of water came down, and she could move. And two youngsters, clearly untrained, but with big hearts, found rope and risked their own lives to, I can't say they swam across, but they found their way across to relieve the mother and the child, and literally saved their lives. I believe that they got, Minister remind me, they got a national award. But if we had this capacity in communities, then there could be a safer response. And I say this because I managed to get a chance to speak with those untrained first responders, and they felt very proud. They said the JDF helicopter come and couldn't help. They said they called for the fire service, and the fire service come and couldn't help. But we little untrained ones risked our lives and went out there. But it could have been worse. So I implore, encourage the local authorities to, especially now at summer, institute programs where you can have trained local responders. I know I'm getting into lecture mode, so let me start by just delivering my last keynote. Achieving the national objectives are not separate from local government. In fact, local government plays such a critical role in achieving our growth targets. Yesterday, I had a very enlightening presentation from our friends in the World Bank on the Ease of Doing Business report, the Doing Business report. They pointed out that Jamaica has done fairly well in the Ease of Doing Business. I believe we would be ranked number 1 in the Caribbean if you were to exclude Puerto Rico, which is a U.S. state or a U.S. territory. But there are areas, the last ranking, I believe, placed us at 70 out of, I believe, 190 countries thereabout. And I agree with you, I wouldn't clap, because we still have a long way to go. I don't think we should take comfort in that. There is one area in particular which gives me cause for great concern, and that is the area of building approvals, where, let me just to be sure, let me check my internet here. Let me see what they say. I believe starting a business, we're doing very well. We are ranked number 5. Dealing with construction permits, 98. So I thought that I would take this opportunity to bring this to the attention of this august gathering of local government practitioners, that we are not practicing the kind of local government that signals responsiveness as it relates to permitting and approvals. At 98, I hear some mumbling, am I? Yes, I hope that it makes it at the top of your list for discussion. And I know it is not local government alone, as Mayor Scott is quite quick to point out. But the truth is that local government has a critical role to play. And the territorial nature, which is amazing that we are in one government, but sometimes we are very territorial, that has led to a slowing up of the process of approvals. And one thing I have to contemplate as the Prime Minister is, how do I get the government to be more efficient? And I'm absolutely committed to the process of getting government efficient. So I'm taking this opportunity to raise my concern to the local government institutions that we cannot allow internal territorial behavior to slow up national progress. And therefore, I will be taking a very serious look at the business process involved in approvals and permitting. I'm certain that there are some processes that don't need to exist anymore. And we will be just eliminating those off the list. We have put in place the Amanda system. We have put the computers to support it. The internet is there to support it. I am hoping that you have been training your staff to use it. But I gather that the take-up and usage of it is not where it is supposed to be or could be. So I hope at this conference, when you are discussing responsiveness and accountability, that the Amanda system is on the top of your list. We can't spend all this money to put in place a system, to use a technology-generated, supported system, and then we don't use it. What was that, Permanent Secretary? Say that loudly, let her hear it. Sanctions. That's part of the accountability process. So, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you are still my friends, I thought I would just raise these key points with you so that this lovely gathering, which ultimately uses the taxpayers' funds, will be justified to them that you have discussed matters of great national importance that will improve our prospects for prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been addressed, we have been encouraged, we have been warned, and we have been set on a clear footing as to the frame of the direction we can take. May I now ask the Acting Secretary of the Board of Supervision, Ms. Trika Lewis, to come forward and deliver the vote of thanks.
Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Bishop Conrad Pitkin, Custos Rotalorum St. James, His Worship, the Mayor Homer Davis, Chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Acting PS, Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, mayors, heads of agencies, chief executive officers of the municipal corporations, our most valued guests and co-workers, Mr. Master of Ceremony, Oliver Fagan, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it a great pleasure to have been asked to extend the vote of thanks on this historic occasion, the inaugural Local Governance Conference 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning. This day will be remembered as a milestone, as the Permanent Secretary stated, in the history of local government, as our commitment to responsiveness and accountability within the framework of local governance is on full display. The very presence and participation of the Most Honorable Prime Minister in today's program, in spite of his extremely busy schedule, is a reflection of the importance that is attached to this function. And for that, sir, I want to extend sincerest gratitude for delivering the keynote address. We're all inspired by your gracious presence, by your insightful words, and by a leadership style that is responsive and accountable. Sir, We believe in your commitment to get all Jamaicans to a place of prosperity and for emphasizing that local government is not a lesser form of government, but the first form of government that is responsive to the citizens. And on a personal note, as the Prime Minister mentioned, human services, and as a worker within the agency that is responsible for human services at the poor relief level, sir, I'd like to reassure you that we are knowledgeable of the names and circumstances of our 20,000 poor relief clients and 1,493 residents of the infirmaries, and we are catering to their needs. To the gentleman who eats, sleeps, breathes, dreams, talks local government, we all know that this function is of your visioning and your passion. Our Minister of Local Government and Community Development, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie. I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank the Minister, not just for his role in this inaugural conference, but for his unstinted support and guidance in streamlining the functionality and functions of local government. And I dare say his leadership is revolutionary. We're extremely thankful to Bishop Conrad Pitkin for delivering the blessing of the gathering and leading us in prayer. To his worship, Mayor Homer Davis, for the warm welcome to his beautiful and fastest growing city in the hemisphere. To our acting permanent secretary, Mrs. Henry Martin, for providing a comprehensive review of the conference. I want to extend deep appreciation to Mr. Glenn Ram, Mayor and Chairman of the Mayara Rio Claro Regional Corporation in Trinidad and Tobago, for traveling to his second home to be here with us today, and for bringing greetings and a 15-page document of issues that he wants to discuss. We hope this experience will be a valuable one, not just for you, but for your country, sir. To our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Oliver Fagan, thank you for facilitating a smooth flow of the morning's proceedings. To our very entertaining young man from Glen Stewart Primary, thanks for providing the laugh to the audience. To all our invited guests who have traveled from all over the island, the Chief Executive Officers, the Chief Financial Officers, the Chief Engineering Officers, Directors of Planning, Directors of Administration, Parish Disaster Coordinators, Budget and Revenue Officers, thank you for coming. And to the media persons, both print and electronic, including JIS and Nationwide News Network, for providing excellent coverage to this program. To the management and staff of Jewel Grand Montego Bay Resort and Spa, for providing a most hospitable venue and courteous staff. An event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels started turning weeks ago, in advance and required meticulous planning and execution. Therefore, to the members of staff of the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, significantly the Communications Unit, I must pay recognition to them for pulling the pieces together to achieve this function. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Therefore, as we close the morning session and embark on 3 days of intense information gathering and knowledge sharing, I want to wish you all a productive experience and to say a general thank you, much appreciation, and gratitude for turning out in your numbers to this inaugural conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, let us sing the national anthem. Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil bars. Be your light through countless hours. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be all forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us the weak to cherish. Give us vision lest we perish. Knowledge send us, Heavenly Father. Grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I ask the mayor's minister just to come to the front? We're going to participate in a special photograph with the most honorable Prime Minister. Let me also at this time, ladies and gentlemen, announce that at the end of the coffee break, the participants for our first session of this conference are expected back in this room. Mayors, disaster coordinators, CEOs, and CFOs.
Discussion.